I felt like the Lord was calling me to worship ministry. I ended up hating music. I felt like God was really tapping me on the shoulder saying, my will and my plan is still gonna prevail.
I ended up starting to dabble in marijuana and alcohol. Ended up one night with a drink in my hand and a loaded Glock in the other. At that moment, God spoke to me.
Hey guys, welcome back to Surrounded Worship. We are so glad that you guys decided to join us again. We are now in week 3 of Songs and Stories. We have absolutely loved doing this with you guys. This week, you're gonna hear a little bit from Ben, Mattox, and Summer Paisley. They're gonna tell you guys a little bit about their story and worship with you guys. So let's worship.
Tried so hard to see it. It took me so long to believe it, that you choose someone like me to carry your victory. Perfection could never earn it. You give what we don't deserve. Take the broken things and raise them to glory. You are my champion, and giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won, I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. Now I can finally see it. You're teaching me how to receive it. So let all the striving cease. This is my victory. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won, I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated with the heavenly place, undefeated by the one who has conquered it all. When I lift my voice and shout, every wall comes crashing down. I have the authority Jesus has given me. When I open up my mouth, miracles start breaking out. I have the authority Jesus has given me.
Hey everybody, my name is Summer, and before we get started with some more worship tonight, I was asked to share a little bit about myself and a little bit about my heart for worship. So I actually grew up in a Christian home. My parents are pastors, so I grew up just, going to church, being super involved. When I got into high school, I started leading worship, and I absolutely fell in love with that. It was a really great way for me to connect with the Lord. That's where I really felt Him closest. And I remember my junior year, I felt like the Lord was calling me to worship ministry and ministry in general. But that was something I really ran from. That was something that I really wrestled with God with. That was something that I did not want to do at all. But 2 years later, I decided to be obedient, and I ended up going to the University of Valley Forge in Pennsylvania, where I'm from. And I decided to study worship leading. Halfway through my first semester there, I ended up hating music. I really hated worship in general. It felt like more of a chore and more of a homework assignment than it did a way to connect with the Lord. And at the end of my freshman year, I decided to leave Pennsylvania and transfer down to Southeastern University here in Lakeland, Florida, and I changed my major as well. So I was kind of leaving that initial call that I felt the Lord was calling me to on the back burner, and I made up a lot of excuses as to why it was okay. So I ended up going through 3 years of college down here, and about 2 months before I graduated with my psychology degree, I felt like God was really tapping me on the shoulder saying, hey, that's great that you're about to graduate all this stuff, but I just want to let you know that my will and my plan is still gonna prevail. And I feel like at that moment I was kind of just like in shock. I kind of just broke down. At this point, I'm about to graduate with a psychology degree. I was kind of telling God, I was like, no, I'm not capable, I'm not qualified to do this, like pick somebody else. And I realized what I had done these past 3 years, and I was really honestly just running from the voice of God and His will for my life. And I kind of told Him, I was like, look, I don't know what this looks like, but if this is something that you want, you're gonna have to make it happen. But about a week and a half after I graduated college, I ended up getting my first position as a worship leader at a church here in Florida. So I've been on staff there for a little bit over than a year, and I absolutely love it. And through all of that, through that experience, and even now still learning, I'm just honestly seeing the faithfulness of God. Even though I ran from His voice and ran from that call for so long, He's still faithful to me. And that's just amazing. So the song that we are going to sing tonight is called To Your Arms. It is a new song by Mosaic, and it really just talks about the love of God. And even though we run far from Him, and even though we run far from His voice, He's a faithful God, and He's sure to finish what He starts, and it's because He loves us. So let's sing together.
Deserve this beautiful and divine love of my Father. You are deserving of all that I have to give. Jesus, you're worthy. When I lose the place I know. I'm running straight to your arms. I'm running straight to your presence, Jesus. I'm coming out of the dark, my heart to your heart, into your I cannot fathom how faithful you are to me, and you never waver. So this is my posture. I eyes lifted to the sky. You are my compass. When I lose the road, you're the place I know. I'm running straight to your arms. I'm running straight to your presence, Jesus. I'm coming out of the dark, my heart to your heart, into your arms. Right from the start, your heart was chasing after me. I can't deny your love. It brings me to my knees. And all at once, your spirit's crashing into me. There's nothing like your love. There's nothing like your love. Right from the start, your heart was chasing after me. I can't deny your love. It brings me to my knees. And all at once, your spirit's crashing into me. There's nothing like your love. There's nothing like your love. There's nothing like your love. Right from the start, your heart was chasing after me. I can't deny your love. It brings me to my knees. And all at once, your spirit's crashing into me. There's nothing like your love. There's nothing like your love. Oh, there's nothing like your love, Jesus. There's nothing like your love.
Hi, my name is Ben Mattox. So a little bit about myself and my story. I was born at a young age, very young age in California. And my parents were actually missionaries. So I was a missionary kid and became a pastor's kid later on. So I actually did grow up in the church throughout high school and everything like that. I was frequently in the church. However, within that specific denomination, it was a very kind of hellfire and brimstone. If you weren't clean 100%, when you died, you were going to hell. And I learned later on in life that that was wrong. There wasn't any grace or anything in that. So when I was young, I knew I could never live a life that was perfect. So I ended up starting to dabble in marijuana and alcohol and things like that. And as I continued to go through youth group, youth camps, I was living a very hypocritical life. I was doing that on the weekdays, on Wednesday nights and Sundays, but I was also out partying with other friends. When I ended up going to a Christian university as well, we'd go to chapel and I would actually start playing and doing worship there, and I'd play the drums for them many times, but I was faking the worship that I was giving because I'd been out partying the night before. I ended up going out to Nashville. I met some people up there, and good and bad. And music became a huge part of my life. I ended up actually getting with some well-known names in the business out there and learned how bad it truly is. I ended up becoming an alcoholic. I ended up, after a while, I moved back to Florida because I had financially broken myself out there, learned what the industry was, and decided to come back. After a while, I continued to drink and became, like I said, it spiraled out of control. I was more and more becoming more of an alcoholic. Ended up finding somebody and we ended up getting married. After a little while, my drinking became a problem. I was kicked out of the house and ended up one night with a drink in my hand and a loaded Glock in the other. I was done. I was listening to my playlist that was titled Suicide. And this was going to be the last drink that I was going to have because I was ready to end my life and be done with it all. At that moment, God spoke to me. He said, "Not today, tomorrow." Now, that might seem kind of confusing, but I learned later on that God doesn't tell us exactly what we may hear in the Bible or things like that. God tells us exactly what we need to know at that specific moment. And that stopped me in my tracks. I looked at the drink that I had in one hand and the gun in the other, and decided then and there and realized that the lies that the alcohol had been serving me all these years, the lies the devil had told me about myself and what I needed. My marriage had fallen apart, and I had to be done with something. So that was the last time I did have a drink, but not for the same reasons it was when I went into it. After that, I found a really good recovery group, Celebrate Recovery, and learned to turn my life back over to God. I've always been the drummer. I've always been a person in music who's always been in the back. I was never in the front, never leading, never singing. The recovery group that I was a part of eventually needed somebody to come and lead worship. I had the capability, so I stepped up and did it. And it has just been amazing how God has moved in my life since I've been obedient to him. Now that I'm doing music his way and not my way, he has opened so many new doors. My life has been enriched tremendously. I am so grateful. I am so for everything he's given me. I feel like a prodigal son who's come back home, and he just throws this big party. So that's why we're actually going to be singing today, Pride of a Father by Hillsong, Young and Free. It really does speak about how can God love somebody like me? How am I worthy enough for him? And the answer is I'm not. And that doesn't matter. He still loves me. And he's always going to love me. And he's always going to take me back. And he's always going to have grace when I fall short. So let's worship together.
I could have run 1,000 miles to win the race of life, but what's the value without you? And I could write 1,000 songs to captivate your heart, but more than offerings, Lord, you seek the depths of me. Prodigal, buried by my shame, till you came running to remind me your love is unconditional, and in your eyes I'm worthy of forgiveness. What was lost is now redeemed. When you see my heart through the eyes of your mercy, in the light of your Son. When you love me with open arms,
camouflage.
I guess.
Could write 1,000 songs. It's when
You thought we were doing the whole song. That was a joke.
Sound check.
Gotcha.
I think the sound check went well.
Yeah, it was really good.
Fantastic.
Now leave it for real.
All right. Yeah, it's go time. I'm just the drummer. Leave me alone. Why do you got me doing this? I'm the drummer.
It's time to shine, Ben.
And scene.